Peace Reflections. Peace Reflections. Peace. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. I hope all my reflections are doing good. Staying focused on the path. Getting out of Babylon. Staying conscious. Staying conscious, staying healthy. A little view, the sun's kind of hidden by the clouds right now, but it's okay. All is divine. All is divine. So today I'm making a video, a short little video, giving some information on how we are cells and how we are inside the black woman. Now, when we study holographic universe for NA beings, I'm going to speak a little on a higher conscious, so stay with me for any reflections that have done the research, have done the knowledge, and have conceptualized this. That the holographic universe basically is saying that everything that seems to be outside of ourselves is actually inside of us. And it's just electrical signals being interpreted from the brain. So everything we see that seems to be external is really internal. And that the brain does not see outside of itself. It's encased in darkness. So if we were to light a candle up in a room, our brain would not be lit up by that candle. Inside of our brain wouldn't be lit up by that candle. It's encased in darkness. How could it? It's just receiving electrical signals from the five senses that are getting response signals sent back through the nervous system and through all the communicative responses that the five senses link back to the brain, and then gets projected in a picture in the visual cortex and gets refracted back through electrical signals through the eyes, refractors, photon energy. When it lights up, the photon energy gets refracted back through the eyes, through the refractors, and it hits the back of the brain and the visual cortex, which is all just electrical signals being interpreted by the brain. So everything that is outside of us is really inside of us. Now we say this and we ask, okay, so how are we cells? Well, just think of cells. Just think of the actions of cells. First, let me go into how we are the black woman. We are a piece of her consciousness. We know that the first being in existence, where we all came from, we know we all came from Africa. This shouldn't be a surprise now. We can do the research on that, scientific research that backs that up. So we all come from Africa, and this black woman named Lucy is the one that they said was the first to be where we stem from. And we know we stem from the archetype, the XX chromosome, because it sustains life. It bursts life. It brings life. From out of the black hole, the womb, comes life. We come out of that through a process of the sperm cell meeting the egg, and then the zygote, and then through mitosis, from that sperm cell meeting the egg, creating itself from there's two sets of information coming from the male and the female, and then the sperm cell comes in, hits the egg, and then creates mitosis, like asexual, and then it creates an organism. And that organism grows inside of the XX chromosome, the female. And then after 9-10 months, one bursts life, just as mitosis would happen. Something happened inside the cell that created another cell, and then another cell was created, and then a cell on top of that was created, and then another cell. And this is the same thing. It's not so crazy to think that we are inside of a black woman and that we are cells communicating. Look at our being. It's electromagnetic. We are a pack group. We tend to have families, so-called families. Some families that we are part of aren't really our families unless they're on our frequency. If one's conscious and they think they have a family, but the family isn't on the frequency of conscious frequency that one is on, then they're not family. But that's besides the point. We're a pack group. We are interdependent on each other. Just as cells move and formulate, we are communicating with each other, whether that's low vibrational communication or high vibrational communication. Now we know through epigenetics that everything's just a play out of A, T, C's, and G's. Now A, T, C's, and G's are the building blocks, and DNA is just the blueprint. And the blueprint was based off the environment that one's so-called parents were subjected to. So they pull, what happens is the information gets pulled from the parents. Remember I said there was half of the information from the Y type and the XX chromosome was pulled from the parents. What was relevant that needed that baby or that being, that organism to sustain life. So it pulled the information from the environment, from both parents, and saw what was relevant. Saw that this being would need this and this and this to survive in this climate and this environment, and based off the parents and how their genetic makeup is and how they were survived, they pulled the information that would help this organism thrive in this climate. And that was the blueprint. That is the blueprint. Now one may have a mutated gene in this blueprint, and that mutated gene does not have to be played out. Through epigenetics we know that we are, technically we're what they make us, using the dogma theory, thinking that the blueprints and we're controlled by our genes, and that this is what we have to go around. We have to go around the blueprint of what was passed down through parents, which is not true at all. All of that was, we can turn those on and off based off how we eat. So if we eat properly and we take the microRNAs from the food, we have microRNAs inside us, and we take the microRNAs from the food. If the food is mutant, we take those mutant microRNAs, and then they meet with the RNAs in our body, and then we try to construct our being off of that information that we have gotten from that food. But if it's mutant and it's not supposed to be in the body and it's toxic, it will create and activate certain mutant genes inside us. We all have these mutant genes, but they just don't have to read or they don't have to play out in our body. Now some have mutant genes that have been activated from birth because of the way that one's parents or one's family were subjected to. But they don't have to play out. If we eat properly, we were to eat plant-based diet and our natural diet, these genes wouldn't show as they were mutant, or these genes wouldn't show as they were active, because we are nourishing our body with the right diet and the right microRNAs, nothing that's mutant to the body, so it's able to heal, and it's able to activate, and it's able to repair our being and not read those genes. So if one has a mutant gene and one lives exactly as their parents did, who died of cancer or something, then that gene will activate because one is living exactly the way that one's parents did to activate those genes. But if one does not live the same way that one's parents did, eating differently, eating healthier, knowing, being health conscious and stuff, then one will not experience this, because one's not creating the environment that was created for one to activate these genes. So it's all about the environment that we create inside our being, and the environment that was created at the time of one's so-called parents that activated their cancer or their disease that they got that killed them. So if we were to activate in the same manner that they did, then we would have problems and get diseases and be more likely and more susceptible to cancer, because that gene, those mutant genes, were activated through birth, but they can be turned off and on like switches based off the way that we eat and the microRNA and the information that we are picking up through the food. So realizing that we are cells and that everything is a cell. We are, in epigenetics, basically it says that we are basically a walking petri dish, because we are the protein. So if we are the protein, then we are affected by our environment through environmental signals, epigenetic behavior through environmental signals. So however we consciously maneuver ourselves through this environment, understanding about being health conscious and understanding that environment matters. So if we are constantly producing stress and fear, that stress and fear will activate certain genes inside us and certain RNA inside us that will create mutant genes, and will heat up and mutate all this foreign entities inside us. That's why it's important to be positive. That's why it's important to get out of Babylon, because Babylon is a stressful, feared environment. One's always worried about getting money. One's always worried about paying the bills and stuff. This creates stress, and that puts stress on our body, and then we become victims of what we are masters of. We are able to control the way that our being responds to its environment based off how conscious we are. So if we know that the environment that we are subjecting ourselves to is affecting our being, then we have to get out of that environment and subject ourselves to a natural environment, the heart chakra, being one with nature. We are electromagnetic beings, so it only makes sense that we would want to connect directly to the earth and take our shirts off and get the environmental signals. One's not receiving any environmental signals if they're living in Babylon and have all these radio microwaves that are blocking out signals from the environment, and is wearing clothes. Our skin is our first brain. They did a test, Bruce Lipton did a test, and basically proved the theory wrong, that they believe that the nucleus is the brain of a cell, but it's not. The brain of a cell is the membrane, the skin. If we take the brain out of a living organism, what happens? It dies. You take the nucleus out of a cell, it lives for 2 or 3 months prior to its death, or before its death. So this proves right here that the first brain, any brain, is where we get the environmental signals from, and how we get that. So the skin is where we get the environmental signals. The hairs on our body are like transmitters. They're like antennas that pick up these signals, and then through this thing called the hair root plexus, brings the information and travels down, and then gets sent through the body electrically. Gets sent through the body through cells, and through the culture medium, the blood gets sent through that, and then gets sent up to the brain, and the brain interprets it, takes the information, interprets it, and then projects what it sees based off the environmental signals, the response signals that it got from its environment. Environment is so important. Now, the black female, how we know this is melanin. Melanin is in everything. Melanin is ether. We are ether. This is why the electromagnetic spectrum is so important. This is why ether and dark matter and all that stuff in outer space is so important. It's really the inner space. It is fragmented up by the sun. The sun is a converter. It fragments this information. It fragments the ether up into the electromagnetic spectrum. If we were to put all the colors of the electromagnetic spectrum together, we'd get a black-brown. This gets fragmented up and placed on this earth in many forms, many frequencies, many colors. Now we know that the first being that was here was the XX chromosome that sustains life, was the female, the black female, where we all came from, which all life came from. And we know that we are inside of her because we look around, everything is green and brown. Everything is green and brown. Brown dirt. The trees from where the green stems from is brown. The grass that the grass grows up from stems from brown. We know this. This makes sense. And we know that we came out of a cell through the process of mitosis and the sperm and the egg. So it's not flawed to think that we are cells, because we are cells. We just change form as that's what proteins can do. That they can change form. Cells can change shape and change form based off the environmental signals that we get received. So if we get different environmental signals, we'll change and morph to that. And we know this by studying like mold and stuff. If you put mold in different environments and stuff like that, mold only grows in a certain environment. But like if it grows, the way it grows is based off the environmental signals. If it's in an area that isn't conducive to that mold, it will change shape and it won't thrive, or it won't survive for very long. And that's another example of way of explaining how environmental signals affect us. So if we are in a natural environment like Babylon, into the cold climates, we won't live long. We are mortal beings. When we're plugged into nature, when we're living properly, we don't have insulators on our body, and we're connected directly to the earth, connected directly to Mama. And that's another thing too. They call her Mama because they know that Mama, anything that is female, that's XX chromosome, sustains life. The baby, when it's born, has to drink milk from the mom's breast. And if it doesn't have that from the mom's breast, we go and get other milks from another female's breast to sustain that baby. Because the male, the Y chromosome, cannot sustain life. So we know that it's a female. We know that this is a feminine entity. And if we think about how we are all cells, we think about everything, there's millions of different cells. There's a bunch of different cells inside our being. Many different cells inside our being that have many different functions. And we look out into nature and we look out into this realm, and there's many different cells. There's many different playouts of these A, T, C's, and G's that are all around us. And these are all cells communicating with each other, in harmony with each other. And they all have different functions, and they all play a different role that is in harmony with the equilibrium of this realm. Like bees. Like if the bees were to not be here, if the bees were to not exist, then we would not, it would fuck up the equilibrium, and then a species would die, and then another species would die, and then it would, there would probably be a mutation to replace what no longer exists right now. So I mean, something would come in place of that and exist, but it would be foreign. It would be a foreign entity, and this is exactly what has happened. Right now we have cancer that's inside the black woman. We have cancer, foreign entities. And they have brought humanity out of harmony with nature. And now all of humanity is living out of tune with what it is, because we are all part of this black woman's consciousness. We are all a play out of the black woman's consciousness. Everything we see outside of us is just a projection of what the XX chromosome consciousness is. And every form and every manifestation that could be exists through her consciousness. She's in a deep sleep and she is sick. And right now the earth is heating up. This is why we call ourselves the immune system. We know what cells we are here. This is Melanation and Ether Nation. We're here to give this message that we know what we are. We're the immune system. We're here to activate those beings that are the immune system, and there will be different parts of the immune system as well, different cells of the immune system that play a role. And we're here to activate those beings, those conscious light beings with our voice, through the voice that activates and hits one's bones. And when we speak the truth and it hits one's bones, it shakes and activates the RNA inside one's being, the information, the latent information that's already in this being, that was meant here to be and had a duty to be the immune system. So we speak to those beings, activate those beings. The earth is heating up. Melanated beings right now are getting active. Melan's getting activated by the signals that are being sent from the sun and all the information that's getting sent by the sun. It isn't there's no coincidence that it is a information age, and the information age just happens to be at the time of when the earth is heating up. What happens when one gets sick? When one gets sick, the earth heats up. When the earth heats up, it activates the immune system and slows down the production of toxic diseases in the body, like cancer and such. So this is happening. This is happening. And now we are becoming conscious of this. We're becoming in tune with nature. We're becoming one with nature. And we're here to wake up. We're here to replenish, not to fight cancer, because one does not fight cancer. Cancer doesn't realize that it's a part of something bigger than itself. Cancer does not realize that it is a part of something bigger than itself, which is being in tune with nature. The black woman is a physical manifestation of nature, or vice versa, because we are living inside of a black woman. Connecting to Mama is connecting to the black woman, connecting to nature. But she created a physical manifestation of herself. But right now, the black woman is being polluted and poisoned by the mind of the lower self. We're here to activate her because she has the hardware. The consciousness is not there yet, but somewhere there is. And when the consciousness and the software acts in synchronicity together, the whole planet will come back. The whole planet will be back in the equilibrium, and we'll be back in harmony, and we will live exactly how we're supposed to live on this earth realm, and how it's supposed to be. We are cells communicating with one another. All of the animals, all of this life force that is existence is a play out of some type of cell that holds an equilibrium. Just like in our body we have different cells and different playouts in our body of these cells that all sustain and help do everything that needs to be done in the body. It's the same thing that happens outside of us, because remember, the holographic universe, everything that's inside of us is just a reflection and a projection outside of us. But one has to know the body, one has to know the being, one has to know how the body works to see what is outside of us that's really inside of us. So we can see the immune system, we can see how cancer is playing out on the earth. We see the lower self chopping down trees, we see the lower self not giving any respect to Mama, not giving any respect to nature, not living in harmony with that, cutting down trees, consuming fruit, selling fruit, doing all these unnatural things. Nothing in nature sells anything. Nothing in nature wears clothes. Nothing in nature lives in a box. Nothing in nature drives cars. Nothing in nature does the things that the lower self, the cancer on this planet, is doing. And it's making Mama sick from the overconsumption and the overproduction of this lower self's alchemy. So what happens? The earth heats up. The immune system, it gets activated. And then the cancer gets flushed out, just as it happens inside one's body. And we are inside a body. We're inside the black woman. XX chromosome, the one that can sustain life. We are a piece of her consciousness. And we're all cells communicating and having a specific function. Even on a lower frequency, there's cells there that are running Babylon, that are organized and getting structured, and this is what the immune system needs to do. This is why this message is being sent out to those that can hear. Not everyone's going to get the message. Not everyone's going to be able to conceptualize this. Not everyone's going to tune in to hear this this frequency, to be able to, you know, really be able to get this. You know, I explain this in the way that I articulate my message. It will make sense to some, and some will not. It will not make sense to. Some beings will hear this and they won't get it. They won't understand it. But there are some beings that will hear this and be like, that makes sense. There are some beings that have tuned in and heard Master Teacher speak and know that we are inside a black woman, know that we are cells, understand epigenetics, understand that everything's a play out of A, T, C's, and G's, understands that we are the immune system and that there's a cancer in this realm that calls himself, that thinks that they are a part of humanity, that doesn't realize that they are a part of something bigger and are playing out their actions, and they will get wiped out. And it's time for us to come into this consciousness. It's time to realize what we are in this planet. It's time to activate the immune system. Get out of Babylon. Don't give cancer, how does one fight cancer? By not being a part of it. By not giving it energy. Cancer sucks energy and it's toxic and turns other cells that are not cancerous into cancer cells and trying to make them when that's not what they're supposed to do. That's not the play out of the cells that meant to be here. There's certain cells that had certain functions to be a part of the equilibrium, and the cancer cells is taking those unconscious cells and turning them into something that they're not. We're not cancer cells. We are the immune system. This is our job, to be the immune system. So it's important that we see this, that we understand this, that we become a part of the immune system, that we are on the right track, on the right side. There will be more information on this. One just wanted to give a little bit of one's divine wisdom on this, and it gets clearer and clearer. And it will get better, and it will get reiterated on, and it will get talked about more, and one will go into other things and then come back to this and program the subconscious and program the mind to understand what this really is. This is newfound information, and it's going to get clearer, it's going to get better. And, you know, we just need to be conscious of what side we are on and what we are a part of. Is one a part of the cancer? Is one a part of Babylon? If one's a part of Babylon, then one is the cancer. And one is giving the energy to the cancer system. To become a part of the immunity is to be in harmony with nature. To create structured orders, to create structured tribes that are a part of nature, and to be one with nature, rather than being part of the cancer. Stay conscious, stay focused, stay tuned in and plugged into melanation and the divine wisdom and knowledge. More messages will be sent out. This message, is the first I've spoke of this, and Master Teacher has spoken of this, and has given this divine wisdom. But one is going to give more information on this, and one is going to get deeper with this, and one is going to start talking about this for the beings that are really getting this information from me, and that I'm speaking directly to. Just a couple. I know a lot of people may see this video or whatnot, but it's really just spoken to those few chosen, because many are called, but few are chosen. Few are the chosen. So I know I have a specific group, a specific people that I'm talking to that really are getting this information. So bear with me. This information will be deeper and will be clearer as it comes clearer in my mind, as I grow, and as I reflect and shine my light to all my reflections. Anyways, peace, love, and light, family.